podcast.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Previously Recorded, where I'm your host, RP, as always, taking you through the X-Men Fox universe as we make our way through this endeavor of unlimited movies. But we've come to the conclusion of the first trilogy of X3, X-Men The Last Stand. And to do so, to help me get through this, is co-host Bob. Bob, welcome back to the X-Mansion.
I'm back. Unlike many of the characters from X2, I am back.
Yeah, the cast is definitely smaller. It's but it's bigger at the same time.
Kind of shitty.
Yeah, it stinks. We'll get into it.
That was just an easy. It was an easy shot that I could take right there.
I got a little bit to say about this movie.
Yeah, I have some stuff too for the same concept, so we'll get there.
Awesome. So how are you? It's been a little bit since visited the mansion. Any post credit thoughts after our last episode about X-Men or X2 since the last time your voice was on record?
I've found that my tongue is getting bluer.
From the blue raz?
No, because I'm becoming a mutant, I think. The mutation. Yeah, so
the mutation seeps through media and into our souls. And that's how
you know how when we did the Star Wars rewatch, we started to appreciate The Force Awakens more after we watched Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
This was a situation where I watched the X-Men The Last Stand is technically the full title, and I was like, maybe I was too hard on X-Men.
Yeah, maybe. Nah, this movie is it's very interesting, and we'll get into a little bit of the backstory.
But it's funny, if you listen to the last episode, a lot of the qualms that I had with X2 are the same thing times 1,000 in this. So I'm genuinely oh fuck, I should have been nicer to X2 because now I'm just making.
Yeah, no, it was
so much worse.
It is worse, and it is what it is at this point. When this movie came out, it still was bad, but I think if this movie came out today, I think it would be viewed as Madam Web level. If it came out today.
But that's a hard comparison just because at the time this movie was
it was still disliked,
biggest budget, right? It's one of the facts I think I read in your sheet, right? This was the biggest budget.
Yep, it was huge.
Movie at the time.
Yeah, it was $210 million budget.
By comparison,
that's standard.
Now there's a bigger pool that this is swimming in, but at the time this was just
it was this.
It still wasn't good. I remember seeing it and not thinking it was great. It's worse than I remember, but
I remember giving it a pass.
It was an X-Men movie, so I feel it was when you walk out of we walked out of the Star Wars movie. We're it was Star Wars, and then we thought about that was bad Star Wars, but it was Star Wars.
So
right? It was that was X-Men.
To kind of put it in perspective, it came out in 2006. Pretty sure Batman Begins was 2005. Spider-Man 2 was 2004. So we are getting to a level where X1 and 2 kind of were really serious, well-made movies, along with Spider-Man. We're getting to another level of comic book movies where, like I said, Batman and Spider-Man 2. But this right now kind of lives out that third movie we had seen kind of prior to maybe the MCU, where and even The Dark Knight Rises, the third 1 and 2 would always be good, and then you knew 3 was going to be stinky. We had this, and then shortly after this we had Raimi Spider-Man 3. There was a couple those are the two that come to mind in terms of finishing arcs that weren't really good. But then also Fox, before this movie came out, put out and I know we were not covering in this order, but put out Daredevil and Elektra, which a lot of people do like Daredevil, and I've heard the director's cut's even better. But Elektra is revered as one of the worst movies ever made, along with Halle Berry's other comic book movie, Catwoman, which those might be better now compared to something like Madam Web. I'm not sure, or Morbius, but
we got to find out.
We do have to find
out.
I saw Morbius. I saw Morbius in theaters.
I did not. It's on Disney Plus, so I might.
The first
I
It'll
remember you
be
saying like it was good and then it just gets bad. It's
yeah.
Argyle. It's good for a while and then it just gets bad.
It's like a it's like an early 2000s superhero movie, like where we have established and things have grown and what we expect and from a
It's
movie.
just
It's
followed that same like,
like Cheese Dick, Venom. It's like if you liked Venom, you probably liked Morbius, like the first Venom
or if you
or
liked
second Venom, maybe I don't know.
trolling the studio,
Yeah,
you
that shit was
said
so
you
funny.
liked Morbius for a while, then you didn't.
For those who don't know, the internet convinced Sony to put Morbius back in theaters with a petition. So they put it back in for a weekend, and it made close to no money. But the studio really thought people were going to go see it, which
Oh, so
maybe
you
they were just like hoping it would be like a hoax thing, like kind of like a room situation where it's like, oh, we're all going to go see it. But no, that shit was so funny that they faked them out.
idiots.
Yes, idiots for sure. But yeah, so we're here to talk about X-Men: The Last Stand, the third and final movie, what we believe to be in the original X-Men trilogy. So a little synopsis. The discovery of a cure for mutation leads to a turning point for mutants. They may now choose to give up their powers and become fully human, or retain their uniqueness and remain isolated. War looms between the followers of Charles Xavier, who preaches tolerance, and those of Magneto, who advocates survival of the fittest. So that is X-Men 3. It was released in 2006 on May 26th. With a budget of $210 million, it grossed $460.4 million. And that is at that point, the highest X-Men movie. And its opening weekend was $102.8 million, the fourth largest opening weekend ever at the time. So critical response was Rotten Tomatoes of 57%. The consensus being X-Men: The Last Stand provides plenty of mutant action for fans of the franchise, even if it does so at the expense of its predecessor's deeper character mode. And I think that that's a fair synopsis, like consensus. I think that that's pretty fair. So I guess there's a little bit of the pre-production. So this movie goes through production hell. So it was greenlit shortly after the success of X2. And at the time, Bryan Singer was going to return with the writers Dan Harris and Michael Dougherty, who polished up the script for X2. However, as everybody famously knows, Bryan Singer left X-Men to go and direct Superman Returns for Warner Brothers, the Brandon Ruth led movie with Kevin Spacey that a lot of people don't really like. And I can't say I love that movie either.
All that in theaters as well.
I saw that too. I saw it on a Sunday, like opening weekend.
Yeah,
Um,
I think I went when it first came out, and I remember like
The coolest scene ever was when the bullet smushes in his eye, and that was in the trailer. And I would be like, this movie looks awesome.
I remember liking Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor.
Yes, yeah, he
But other
was
than that, it was just like take it or leave it type movie.
yeah, it was disappointing for sure.
Who was
And
Lois in that? Oh look, yeah,
yeah. Look, I'm not sure.
I feel
Is
like it was somebody who like
kids in that one too, right?
Kate
Or
Bosworth.
oh, I like Kate Bosworth.
Yeah, no, I just remember it being somebody that was like didn't necessarily make sense at the time. Like
She was like popular, but not like an
she was
it
like just like
girl.
the pretty like
Yeah,
blonde and like Blue Crush was like I feel like her big movie like the surfer movie or like Win a Date with Tad Hamilton was another one that she was in.
yeah. She was always like she's very attractive, but I never thought she was the best actress, but not the worst. So yeah,
She she was the girlfriend in Remember the Titans.
oh, she is. Yeah, that's
Uh,
probably her best role, where she's like stingy.
she comes
Um,
around.
she does come around.
Not like that Ray guy. He's a real jerk.
So when Bryan Singer left the project, the writers also left and went with them to Warner Brothers. And Singer stated that he didn't really have a full idea for X-Men 3, but he had a complete vision for Superman. So in the end, he had only one partial script treatment for the film, and this treatment dealt with Jean's resurrection and included Emma Frost, with the intention of Sigourney Weaver in the role, which I fuck with Sigourney Weaver, but I don't. That would have been strange because I think the first class Emma Frost, played by January Jones, is like pretty perfect casting.
Well, I think
So
Emma Frost in general, and this is no knock on Sigourney Weaver, but is like
like
almost
gorgeous.
like it's again like a seductress type character.
And
So
I think Sigourney's like sexy in that way of where she's not like beautiful, but I mean, I'm not trying to sound like a
Well,
piece of shit.
yeah, we sound like pigs right now, but
Yeah, like a chauvinist pig, but
here's
like,
the other thing. Like and this might work in my so Sigourney Weaver is now 74, whereas Halle Berry is 57. So there's a 14-year difference. I feel like Storm and Emma Frost should probably be about
yes,
the same type of age.
with Emma Frost being potentially even younger. That's just weird. Sigourney Weaver. That's just weird.
It just didn't. Yeah, it
I
doesn't
mean,
really.
she's a badass. Like she's an action star, and I
Rebecca
love her
Romaine
to.
is 51. So it's just like it was just a big gap in the casting as far as like you have all these characters who are around the same.
Yeah, to have a
Frost,
15,
you
20
would think,
year difference is
is
strange.
around the same kind of like time period as them. She's not gonna be like Charles and
No,
Magneto. So like yeah, when I read that in your notes too, and I was like, that's a weird choice.
it's weird.
Yeah.
But the role would have been Emma Frost is an empath who would have ended up manipulating Jean's emotions for Magneto, who wanted to control her. And then eventually overcome with her emotions, Jean would kill herself, but her spirit would survive and become, in quotes, a godlike creature. One Doherty attributed it being like the child star in 2001: A Space Odyssey, which I had never seen.
Neither.
It's on my list. It's on
Pretty
my list.
wild that neither of us have seen that though. I
Yeah,
feel
it's
like
on.
Shane probably has. That seems like a Shane type.
Yeah, it does. But then it doesn't because I don't know. Because his dad like wasn't into that stuff. And it's I don't know, it's not
Yeah,
really like an action movie. It's more of like a sci-fi
I'm not.
exploratory movie, right?
Yeah,
Apparently it's controversial. I learned that recently. I don't know why. Shane's not here today because he's too busy getting his 15 hours of sleep or protecting the Senate, whichever one.
we're not. We're to be determined.
Yeah, we're not sure.
Like, and I've thought about watching because we're just gonna. I'm now caught up with 2001: A Space Odyssey and why I've never seen it because I'm like,
Yeah.
what? And I think it's just Stanley Kubrick. Like, I don't. Aside from The Shining, I just don't think I get him. Like, I've
Yeah.
seen Full Metal Jacket. I've seen A Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, I haven't seen either
And
of those.
either of them, I'm like, oh man, these are
I've seen parts of Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket. When they get to Vietnam, I feel like gets like I'm confused. Not confused is the wrong word, but I'm just like,
So I've actually planned on watching 2001: Space Odyssey this weekend because it might be Denis Villeneuve's favorite movie. That's also I found out that that is the correct way to pronounce his name. I've been calling him Denis Villeneuve for
how do you say it?
it's Denis Villeneuve.
Villeneuve.
Villeneuve, the French Canadian.
RP's been hopped up on Spice for about a month now, so that's why he's bringing this up.
Yeah, and well, anyway, it's one of his favorite movies, and he's my favorite director working right now. I have been making my way through his movies, and I know we don't agree on Blade
You
Runner
love Blade
2049.
Runner, and I
I
don't.
I did. I thought Blade Runner was great, and I thought Arrival was even better.
I didn't see Arrival. I've heard good things.
Arrival
That's Amy
shocked.
Adams, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
it shocked me. Not in terms of like story. I wasn't
With
like,
how good
oh,
it was.
yeah, because the first 2 minutes, there's like a montage sort of thing. You don't know these characters at all. You don't know anything. There's like no dialogue spoken. Then the first 3 minutes, I am on the verge of tears.
Okay.
And I just think it's a really well done. It's slow, like all of Denny's movies. It's slow, but I've come to appreciate. So I've like watched that. I've come to really appreciate his style of filmmaking. And Dune slow.
That was my problem with Dune 2. That my only qualm with Dune 2 is that I felt like
I liked it more on the second watch.
at times it moved a little slowly.
It does. It does. It's dense. It's a dense
Yeah,
book.
there's a lot they're doing, but I felt like at times it was just like you could have jumped around. But that's for another podcast.
That is another podcast with the
We're here for the
spice.
mutants.
We're here for the mutants. And I could talk about the spice. I'm going again in 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Get the popcorn container.
Discount Tuesday. I'm like, I might as well. It was actually different this time. We'll talk about it later. I'll tell you later. Anyway, 2001: Space Odyssey. That's where I left off. Stinger left before the new contracts for the stars were signed. So Hugh Jackman, Halle Berry, all of them had only signed on for 2 movies. They had all re-signed up for this final one. And with that, Jackman signed his new deal that gave him final approval of the director because everybody knows, and we've talked about it in the last on both episodes, that people had their problems with Bryan Singer. I thought he was kind of an asshole. Not he is an asshole.
Is there anything I don't remember from X2. Did Hugh Jackman have any issues with him, like on
No,
record or no?
I don't think so. Not to my
Okay.
knowledge.
Just like yeah, like I know that Halle Berry, like on record, was like she didn't like working with him. Basically, I was just
I
curious with Hugh Jackman because he became
this
the
the
draw.
star.
Yeah,
Yeah. Not to my knowledge. So Jackman offered the role, the director role to Darren Aronofsky, which that would have been probably the wildest X-Men movie made. And I'm glad it didn't happen. Like there's what the final director, I'm glad I would have preferred somebody else.
there's
But
some of these directors I'm curious. Some because I mean it was a carousel for sure.
yeah, no, so
Some of
it's
these
literally
I'm curious of what would have happened.
I was literally writing the notes for this, and I was like, "There's another one." Like, it's literally, I think, like 8 directors that this movie goes through. So that the role was offered to Joss Whedon, but turned it down since he was working on a Wonder Woman film. One of the main reasons they went for Whedon was because his comic storyline, X-Men Gifted, was the adaptation for the movie. Like, the Cure and everything. So that was like
Probably
why
he
they
probably would
really
have been good.
no, he would have been. I say what you want about him, and he's like canceled now. But the Avengers is one of the
But
greatest
like
comic book
he
movies
he
ever
knows
made.
regardless of the man, he knows his
Yeah,
comic book shit. So
yes,
like
he does.
probably would have been a good story. That was one of the ones where I was like, okay,
And then Rob Bowman, who did the X Files, Reign of Fire, and Elektra, was in the running, and then Alex Pro Proyas.
I have no idea. You're doing your best.
I'm trying here. But he turned it down due to feuding with Fox while making his movie I, Robot, the Will Smith movie. I remember that being a good movie.
Solid. That would have been so. Would they have been a team, or they were just the next two?
They were just the next two. Yeah,
Okay, all
it
right.
did sound like a directing team. Um, and then
Because Rain of
eventually,
Fire is. I liked Rain of Fire when I was younger.
I never seen Reign of Fire,
Rain of
but I
Fire is
know
about like dragons.
people do like it. People
Yeah.
do like it. Then Zack Snyder was offered the role, but declined it because he was working on 300. And then this last one is the one I probably wanted to see the most. Was Guillermo del Toro was offered but declined due to working on Pan's Labyrinth. I think his
Have
version
you
of the
seen Pan's Labyrinth?
I haven't.
I saw it in theaters when I was in high school, and I had like nightmares. Like it's just weird.
It
It
looks
wasn't
creepy.
scary, but it was just creepy. Yeah.
It looks super creepy. I'm googling it now.
Well, like so, like that those two, Zack Snyder,
Yeah,
like
That's super
three
creepy.
300 time period where like 300 was the coolest fucking thing I'd ever seen when I first saw it.
Hmm.
Like that in an X-Men movie would have been awesome
Watchmen
to
too.
happen up front, right? To happen at that time. Guillermo del Toro, just the weird shit he does with Pan's Labyrinth to do some of that stuff with like the way the X-Men characters looked and stuff like that, probably also would have been very cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think he
I
did
have
a
no idea
great.
what it would have done for the story, but just like
Yeah, the
their
look.
styles, I feel like could have been cool for an X-Men movie.
Well, have you seen Hellboy 1 and 2? Like the original ones?
Yeah, no.
Okay, so
I,
that's Guillermo.
one I have. But yeah, that's what I mean. Like Beast, Guillermo del Toro's Beast probably would have been a cool looking Beast.
Yeah, he would have been
Not that
neat.
this one was not. He was pretty cool looking.
I do like this look, but this look of Beast, like, okay, so this came up on the X-Men episode, the first movie, or maybe just in conversation with Marvel. Do you prefer this look for the Beast, or do you prefer the Marvel's end credits look? Like, do you like the makeup, or do you like how comic and like cartoon accurate Beast was at the end of the Marvels?
Let me look up the Marvels version because I saw it in theaters and then
Because in my mind's eye, I thought that Beast looked like a fairy, but then rewatching this, actually looks pretty good.
yeah, I don't mind this one. So the if I had to say, I think I prefer this because the Marvels one just looks CGI'd.
Yeah, well,
Like this is clearly Kelsey Grammer's face. The problem is that Beast looks like
I think he looks cool. I do think he looks cool like this. I think that this is I prefer this look. Nicholas Holtz in X-Men First Class, I think is kind of silly looking.
I do too. But this Beast, like when I look at it now, when I Google it, just like the face and like the strong chin and everything, He looks like Apocalypse too.
He does, but
And
I think that's
Apocalypse
just
looks like Ooze, so now he's just a Power Rangers
he's,
villain.
he also, I think he just has that strong jawline.
That's Kelsey Grammer, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. No, I didn't mind it. I didn't like in the X-Men, like in the X-Men uniform. I thought his uniform was kind of like weak.
Well, because it was like the old school one.
Yeah, it was like a weird, like the jacket.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
it's like the old X-Men. Like what it would be like kind of it's an homage to what comes in or homage. What the fuck am I saying? A homage?
Homage is what you're looking
Oh,
at.
homage? Yeah. I said something today at work. I meant to say like, like how something's like circular, like or but it's
Yeah,
secular.
yeah,
I
yeah.
said
Cyclical.
yeah, I think that's what I said the wrong thing. And I looked at my coworker, I was like, I'm sorry, I'm a fucking idiot. Like,
Beast just like never wore a shirt, so I felt like having a weird jacket on was like weird,
yeah, but it was just like
especially because it was just open.
I enjoyed though when
He
he's
was
like,
basically
it's
wearing a vest. He was just Beast in a vest.
yeah, which I kind of like it because he's just like, I'm surprised it still fits. And I was like, I kind of like
The
this.
idea that like that's what he used to wear.
Yeah, and like I like that costume detail because we talked about how the X-Men's costumes in these movies are kind of bland, where this one has a little bit of pop and flair of like a 70s level X-Men
That's
superhero
fair.
team.
I also like that this Beast wore suits all the time.
Yeah, it was so cool.
Like,
Dr. Hank McCoy.
what did that dude spend? And I know why, because then they only had to do makeup on his hands and his face.
Yeah.
What did that dude spend on suits to get him like
Yeah, he had a good tailor in New York.
yeah, Hank McCoy, what is your suit budget?
I want to see his like attorney at law. I know he's not a lawyer, but I want to see that now. No,
Just him doing
after,
research on a daily basis in a lab coat, just like general research, just
yeah,
like back to the grind, Beast.
gotta do it. Hey, Beast, you want to grab a drink after work? No, I can't do it, man.
Yeah,
I'm too
yeah, got
busy.
it. Yeah,
Can't do it. Can't do drinks. Um,
end of the month. Gotta get this in.
so yeah, so Guillermo del Toro had to pass on the role, on the director role. So there had still been no director in February 2005, and this release date was set for May 5th, 2006, with filming beginning in July. So already at this point, when a director comes in, that this movie is kind of already in full swing and very little time for prep for them. So if you want a director to come in and just get the project done, this is kind of when it happens. But if you have somebody that's there from from the get-go, from the beginning, they have a say, they have what they like and how they want the film to look, then you typically get that more. So that's when they brought in Matthew Vaughn, who went on to direct X-Men, First Class, Kingsman, Kick-Ass. So he's got some style. He directed Argyle.
I was waiting for it. If you didn't say it, I was going to say it.
But he was hired to direct, and Fox agreed to move the release 3 weeks to Memorial Day weekend of 2006. However, family issues forced Vaughn to leave the project before filming, and Vaughn has also stated that he was cautious of the tight deadlines because he didn't have the time to make the movie he wanted. And then
In the grand
recently,
scheme of things, what's 3 weeks on a filming project? Is
it's
that really giving you anything?
no, it's kind of horseshit. Like,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
also like, I mean, unless it was like a crowded summer, would moving an X-Men movie to July or August really have been that big of a deal? It's still a huge point to go to the movies.
Yeah.
But
And it's 2006, so it's not like you're getting it on TV.
exactly. So, great point. That's what I mean. Like, this whole movie just kind of feels like they just wanted to like shit out a movie. Like
Get a movie out. Yeah.
yeah. But recently in October of 2023, Vaughn revealed that he actually left because a group of execs had tried to sign Halle Berry to the film on a fake script. A script that had Storm saving kids in Africa. And then Vaughn casted Kelsey Grammer as Beast, Diana Ramirez, I think I said that name right, as Callisto, and Vinnie Jones as the Juggernaut.
I think it's Danya.
Danya Ramirez. That makes more sense. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
Danya Ramirez. And then eventually, finally, on June 2nd, 2005, again, this movie comes out May 26th of 2006. There was like no time. Anyway, Brett Ratner, who came from the Rush Hour franchise, who was actually considered for the original X-Men film, signed on to do the movie. And with that, his Ratner's understanding of the X-Men was very limited, so he just trusted the writers. So Simon Kinberg, who wrote Elektra and Fantastic Four, was hired along with Zach Penn, again, who wrote their own drafts and then once again combined them down to one. And they had to fight for the Dark Phoenix storyline. There was this obsession with the Dark Phoenix storyline, as the studio only wanted the Cure storyline. So the writers were really pushing for this, where the studio actually didn't want to do it. And they thought it was too dark for a mainstream summer blockbuster, which is really not that true. As long as you do it right, it doesn't matter. So there's a couple mandates that also came. So studios seemed to be very heavily involved in this one, where the other one was more creator based. So another mandate was the removal of Cyclops due to Marsden's availability and also his popularity. He was not well liked, I guess, or I didn't know that at the time until now. And they saw that Wolverine was the focal point for the X-Men. And since you can't even see Cyclops' eyes, therefore you can't relate to him. This was
It's a wild concept for like
it's so
the
nuts.
arguably the most famous, one of the most famous X-Men.
He is, and at the time of the movies, because Wolverine wasn't. I
Like
don't think
now, I
Wolverine
think
was as
Wolverine
popular.
probably is, but like at that
Absolutely.
point, I feel like Cyclops is the face. When you think X-Men, you either think Charles Xavier or Cyclops.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. And then with these movies, I think you more so think of Charles Xavier for sure, but take Xavier, take Magneto out. I think you think of Halle Berry and Hugh Jackman, Wolverine and Storm.
I
But
just meant as far as
as
X-Men go.
X-Men
You
in
think of
general, yeah,
X-Men,
to
not the
put
movies, like cartoon show. Oh, well, Cyclops.
Cyclops, yeah.
Like
And Fox actually wanted his death to be off screen, which I mean, at this point, it basically was like
it
it was.
was.
They did him so dirty, like, but
It
also
was
he was
awful.
barely in two.
We'll get there. We'll get
Oh,
there.
we'll get there. We'll get there. Fox also wanted Xavier's death, which makes sense. They wanted to be the emotional turning point. And then Alan Cummings was set to return as Nightcrawler,
Nightcrawler.
but they felt that wasn't worth it for the limited role to pay him and come in and do all this makeup. And they just thought he might tread on Beast. I guess two blue characters can't be in the same movie.
That's why they changed Mystique too.
Yep. Yep. And then the other newcomer was Elliot Page as Kitty Pryde. So yeah, so the filming with a budget
Also, he was because later on, there's and I know that like part of the reason that oh my God, what's his name? Matthew Vaughn ends up doing the other like first no, who does First Class?
Matthew Vaughn.
It is Matthew Vaughn, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he like and like Days of Future Past, is he that too as well? Or
No,
no,
that's Bryan Singer actually.
Brian Singer says like he likes Elliot Page.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He was like very bland for me. Like the Kitty Pryde character, I did not.
Yeah, yeah.
Kitty Pryde's cool.
Yeah, she is cool, but she's very whatever in this movie.
I read your notes before I watched it again.
Uh-huh.
I remembered Kitty Pryde being in the movie, and I'm like, maybe I don't remember Kitty Pryde being like as focal of a point as I thought. And then I watched it, I was like, oh no, she's not a focal point whatsoever. She's there.
Yeah,
She causes problems with Rogue and Bobby, but like
kind of none of them are, except for this movie's really Storm, Wolverine, Magneto, and Jean. Like that's what this movie is.
Yeah.
For the most part. Yeah. So
and
Pyro
and Colossus.
Oh, and Beast. And Beast. I forgot Beast. Obviously. And then Jimmy, of course. How can we forget Jimmy the Mutant? So with a budget of $210 million, it was the largest budget of all time at that point, which now, I mean, movies, every kind of movie has a budget of that, blockbuster. And the film was to end with Rogue kissing Iceman, but the studio execs, this is probably one of the craziest things I read. The film was to end with Rogue kissing Iceman, but the studio execs requested a holding hands version. So they screened both of these scenes, a kissing scene and a holding hand scene, for the exec's daughters, as well as the film's female marketers, and the hand holding prevailed, citing that the kiss was all about sex and we didn't want that. This sounds like it was written by like people in the 50s. Like a kiss between two people who have been in love for 3 movies. And
I'm happy that they didn't kiss. I would have been.
I would have been, you know, I was just saying this for the camera. I would have been so disgusted if that happened.
I don't know if outraged is the correct word, but the hand holding was too far, in my opinion, because I knew where it was going.
I understood it, but it's not for my taste.
No.
I'm a good boy.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of room for the Holy Spirit between those two. I know that much.
There wasn't, and there wasn't for the director either, Brett Ratner, who I guess you have to be a scumbag to direct these movies because he outed Elliot Page as a lesbian at the meet and greet for the cast and crew. So
Which
yeah,
is wild. Like
he's just like, oh hey, this is our new
yeah,
cast
it's
member is
just
Kitty
Kitty
Pryde.
Pride.
She's a lesbian.
She's a lesbian. Oh, you
So
haven't told people that yet? Okay.
so somehow this scumbag bags some biddies though, because his dating history is crazier than the history of this movie.
His dating history, arguably more interesting than X3, The Last
He
Stand.
it definitely is. He looks like a guy you would just walk into at any Northeast Philly bar.
But
Um,
like also like probably your accountant or something like that. No offense, RP. But but like
not
he
taken.
does not look he looks yeah, like he looks like any normal like
He's a
I
schlub.
have an office job guy.
So he's a guy. He's a guy. He looks like a guy. But basically, what I'm going to say, not really clean
You know what he got
shaven.
paid to do this movie?
Probably like 50, like 5 million. That's my guess.
Yeah. He looks like a guy who never got the check.
Like he still shops at
Yeah.
Walmart, like t-shirts, like t-shirt. No,
T-shirts.
no, no shitting on that because I like to dress that way, but not necessarily from
There.
Walmart.
Never this dude's never fucking he's a big suit guy, never found a tie. Never found a tie he liked.
That's true.
Any picture of him in a suit, he basically just is unbuttoned, letting the hairs fly.
So his dating history is Rebecca Gayheart, who I don't really know who she is.
Just fly past the ones we're not positive about because the ones we
Yeah,
are
Jennifer Meyer, probably the craziest one of them all. So Serena Williams.
Serena Williams
Why are
is
they in the same realm? It's like in 2004, she's at her height, and he had, I don't know, I guess at 2004, maybe she's still rising at that point,
yeah,
but
she's
he
not
hasn't,
quite. I mean, she's great in 2004, but like she's not quite the
like he,
best athlete of all time level. Just
meanwhile, he's just churning out Rush Hour 1, 2, and 3. So
yeah,
I guess,
he's directing Kobe Bryant jokes, racist Kobe Bryant jokes in Rush Hour too.
um,
Also, like 2004. How I mean, I guess I should look at him.
how old is he?
Serena Williams is 24 in 2000.
He's 54 now. So,
13 years apart. They're 12 years apart.
I mean, I guess it's not terrible.
A 36-year-old dating like a 20. I don't know when they dated, but we got 2004. 36-year-old dated a 24-year-old. It's not terrible, but it's not cool.
Yeah, it's definitely not cool is not the word I would use for it. He also dated Lindsay Lohan in 2006, which that's got to be pretty close to. She's 37 now. So what? How old was she in 2006? That can't. That
Who's that?
Lindsay Lohan.
Lindsay Lohan, probably near the same age as Serena Williams. She's
So
5 years younger than Serena Williams. So in 2006, she's 20.
that's disgusting. That's disgusting. She's 20, and in 2006, this man is
Was it in
almost.
2006? Like, do you have
Yeah, it says 2006. So
the
he's
height of Lindsay Lohan time? She's just starting to go crazy.
he's
New
17
Girls is
years.
out. Freaky Friday is out. Herbie Fully Loaded is out.
Did he direct one of her movies or something?
I don't think so. He might have. I mean, I can look his.
No, he didn't.
I don't think he did.
I mean, I guess that makes it a little bit better, but like she was 20, he was 37. That's gross. Anyway, then he dated Maggie Q, and then he dated Mariah Carey in 2015.
Olivia Munn said that he sexually harassed her.
Oh, that I believe.
But I'm saying, so like she's on like the dating list, but
Mm-hmm. Oh,
apparently
no.
that wasn't a.
So yeah, basically you got to be a fucking creep to direct an X-Men movie in this trilogy. So that shit's bad shit. More bad
There's
shit.
this woman, Natasha Henstridge, accused Ratner of forcing her to perform oral sex on him while she was just 19. I'm just saying this girl was 19, so he had a track record.
Yeah, he's scumbag. Yep. Scum. I hope Me Too got him.
Dude, what are the what's the X-Men? What's going on here?
Yeah. Is the mutation like something that affects your brain chemistry too? Or what have you? But
Yeah, like what? I don't I'm like a loss for words. What are they doing?
I
They're like,
don't know.
nobody gets the X-Men other
They
than we need a sex offender to understand the X-Men. We
we
need a
need
director that has to introduce himself to all the other trailers on the lot.
yeah, he has to go around and before the
We
movie
need a
starts.
director that can't go anywhere close to a playground to
And
understand the X-Men.
don't tell him any like secrets or personal information because he'll just let it out.
Poor
Like,
Elliot Page, man.
yeah.
It's such a wild concept.
uh, but yeah, so
Hey, this
that's
is Hugh Jackman. Hey, Hugh, this is a lesbian.
yeah. And he's just like, oh, cool,
Like,
mate.
oh, okay. Crikey.
But so yeah, so that's basically all the information about the X-Men, the Last Stand, the creation of the movie. Clearly, the movie went through a little bit development hell, no clear vision in sight, and the movie kind of comes out a train wreck. It makes a bunch of money, so that's all that Fox cares about. But the fans were not happy with it, and I can say today, as having watched this for the first time since Days of Future Past, that this movie, it's not good, but it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. It's not
Nah, it's
the
not.
worst comic book movie. It's not the worst Fox movie.
It's
It's not the worst X-Men movie.
well, at this point in time, it very clearly is, though.
At this point in time,
But you know
yes,
what
it
I mean? Like
absolutely
the
is.
problem is by comparison,
Oh, this is a stinker. This is a turd.
it's a flop. Yeah, it's a turd.
So what were your thoughts? Like watching this again, seeing it again. What were your thoughts on it?
So it's shorter.
Yeah, which I loved.
I did, but then like the note, there you have a note about Matthew Vaughn and like what he thought and stuff like that, and he says his movie would have been 40 minutes longer, and I was like curious,
Yes,
like if this was because it was shorter and it felt like it's not that things didn't make sense, but like they didn't give things time to like
exactly.
breathe.
That that is my biggest complaint in my review on Letterbox. Actually, that's what I started off with, where the themes all make sense. It's a coherent trilogy. Themes make sense. However, it just feels so rushed. Where the other two, like you feel right away, where the other two took their time with their story, their pacing. This one kind of just is like, all right, we got to get to the end. So I'm with you. For somebody who like, I don't mind a long movie. Any movie
I
really.
think it was what was it 145,
Yeah, but
104 minutes, so
it's great.
145. You could have made it 2 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. And you
And
could
like
have
just
added more.
let things be a little. I did see.
And like, so for Matthew Vaughn, who is a known comic book fan, and you could see what he does with the next movie in First Class, giving him an additional 40 minutes to tell his story of the Dark Phoenix and or conclude this trilogy the way that he would have wanted to, I absolutely would have wanted to see. And I'm with you. I'm curious at that. Maybe it's a better movie. Apparently 15 minutes of additional footage in Daredevil completely changes that movie. So I'm with you. What we could have lived in this a little bit longer. I think we could have lived with the Dark Phoenix
Well,
internal
that's my
struggle.
problem, right? To tell the Dark Phoenix story, you can't the way it doesn't work like this.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. Jean pops out of the water, and now
Kill Scott immediately.
Xavier's like, "Oh yeah, I had to build walls in her head," which also doesn't. I
Doesn't
honestly don't know I've never read the backstory for the Dark Phoenix. Maybe that's part of it.
I have never been compelled to read the Dark Phoenix story because I don't give a shit about it.
But like,
Because
it
like,
doesn't strike me as an Xavier thing to do.
no, I mean I
Maybe he
know.
does, but like maybe he does. I don't know because I've never read it.
So he is a scummy. Like he can be scummy. We talked
He
about it on
can
the
be
X Men
100%, but it just seems out of character for him to do that to Jean.
to completely cage
Yeah.
Jean, and I'm fine if that's just the story they chose to tell. It just like kind of didn't work because they had never. Okay, sure that they I don't really think I don't remember in X2 do they really allude to anything going on with Jean, but more so at the end of the film, obviously she sacrifices herself because she's like I don't have
Right now, her
control anymore.
powers are going out of control
Yeah, so she's going out a little bit of
because
control.
that's it. Logan at one point says, or it might be the Cyclops. One of them says, like, the other day you were like struggled to move a fork
Oh,
and you
and
just landed an airplane.
oh yeah.
Or you just like took two fighter pilots out, or whatever she does, like when they're in the sky. Like
And so she's
she's
having that
getting like
problem.
super powerful in X2.
Yeah, that's right. And then the end, she sacrifices herself
Yeah.
and then comes is reborn as the Phoenix. And you could see it in like the wave, like the clouds make the Phoenix or whatever. But just to come back and kill Cyclops immediately, I guess, is
And the
like
way they
whatever.
do it,
It's just so like dirty. Like I understand you
just
want
like
to kill him
glasses
off.
on the ground is essentially your way of knowing he's dead.
Yeah, but she fucking obliterated him, but his glasses are still there. But it's like
Yeah,
I know she tells him to take them off. I know she does, but
I don't
I didn't like it. They did James
like
Marsden
this,
dirty.
but I don't like I don't
Yeah.
like yeah, I don't like the Dark Phoenix story this way. And
I
like I haven't seen, and I'm probably gonna watch them now for this just to follow along, but I haven't seen the new one either because I had no interest in
the Dark Phoenix movie is the worst movie. I haven't seen Elektra, but it's the worst movie Fox has made. Maybe ever.
like the worst movie ever.
Yes, it's very bad. It's very bad. So strap in for that. I just like whatever. I will say though about the Dark Phoenix saga, the thing that truly stood out to me in this movie was Famke Janssen. I thought was fantastic in this movie, and I didn't like her really in the last two, but I think she does a great job at conveying her emotions and that internal battle that she's dealing with when she goes from Jean to back to the Phoenix. Like I that was something I
I
picked up this time around that I didn't before. Like I genuinely was like, she's doing a great job.
I kind of disagreed with that actually.
Really?
I felt like
Why?
when she was Jean, when she was like desperate for help, I was like, okay, I can see this. But when she was the Dark Phoenix, she just reminded me of like a bad soap opera like face actor.
Yeah, because it was just like
Like
bland.
I gotta make it clear that I'm mad now, and like like it,
Well,
like I
like
felt like,
that ending scene where she's like, just kill me, like just kill
oh
me.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. The scenes where like Jean is
Really
like
good.
coming out of her, those scenes are good. Like I'm not
Yeah,
saying she's bad in this by any means, but
yeah.
there were times when she's got this like that when she's the Phoenix persona where I was like, I get it.
You silly
Yeah,
goose.
you're bad now. I get it. It's not a
Yeah.
big deal.
Um, but that's the one thing I did want to call
And I
personally.
feel
I
like
wanted to
most
call
of it
out.
too, most of the movie was just like her standing next to Magneto
Oh
being
yeah, no, this movie stinks. It's just like it moves so quickly, and then they do James Marsden dirty, but they do Rebecca Romaine even
dirtier,
dirtier.
dirtier.
So fucking dirty. She gives her life for Magneto. Obviously, she gets converted back into a human, or not back into a human for the first time. And then Magneto's just like, all right, deuces. Like, you have done everything for me. And I know that's kind of his antithesis. He doesn't give a shit about humans,
About humans, yeah.
but it's like, I'm like, this is so
But
fucked
then
up. But it's
Rebecca
like
Romaine Stamos is
gorgeous.
yeah, an unbelievably attractive woman.
Mm-hmm.
Did they show her on like when they show her on like the security footage, like
Yeah,
riding? It was like a very not flattering like shot of her.
I agreed.
I like noticed. I was like that. I didn't even notice who it was.
It's so weird. And she like, I think it's also, she doesn't look great. She looks great in everything else. It's a weird,
That one
unflattering
scene, it was like a
scene.
weird like shot, and then like the hair they gave her, and like all. But I was like,
They
and
gave her
then
they
I
gave her
think
Karen hair because she rats them out immediately.
it was the president or something who was like, "Oh, a woman scorned," like whatever that phrase is about like a woman scorned, and I was like,
Nothing's like stings more than a
"Yeah."
woman's scorn or some stupid
I
shit
was
like
like,
that.
"That's such a bad." Like I didn't know I was like, "Who's ratting on him?" And I was like, oh, I was like, "Oh, that was Mystique." Okay,
Yeah,
that
it's
was
just
Raven.
it was weird.
They get multiple man. That guy's kind of cool. Although he was
Multiple
just like a jock, which was funny to me.
Yeah, and I always liked the Juggernaut in this movie. I always just found him fun. I know he's not like the Juggernaut from the comics, and for people who like the character don't like him, but he's just like a boneheaded goon in this movie. And
But I
like
do feel like because I don't remember them explaining it the way that they did. The Juggernaut is like a weird. Like doesn't translate. I mean, this is weird to say about the X-Men in general, but like I feel like it's hard to translate the Juggernaut to a screen in live action
at that point, yeah.
and make it seem like it fits with everything else.
Mhm.
Just explaining like yeah, like once he gets his momentum, you can't stop him.
I think it's a good way to do it.
Was an easy, and then like why does he wear the helmet just so he doesn't get a concussion in that process? Like
Yeah, I
okay,
mean,
that checks out. That's simple enough. Like that's.
I liked I did like him in Deadpool 2 as well. I liked what they did in Deadpool 2, which I've only seen that movie once. But so I'm excited to rewatch that. But I didn't have a problem with them. I thought Callisto was cool.
Well, the Juggernaut, like on the Juggernaut bitch thing
Yeah,
was
I'm
like
the Juggernaut, bitch.
that was everywhere when
Yeah,
this movie came out.
yes. And the new addition was Archangel, which I thought it was cool. Pretty
Cool enough, yeah.
um but those are some of the things I thought they did well. I mean, obviously, we finally get the Danger Room in this movie to start it off with. Um, and it's cool. I think they do it well. It's neat, the Sentinel. And then you get oh my God, who's the creator of the Sentinel?
Fast.
Yeah, Boulevard Trask. He's
Yeah.
in this movie. He's the
But like not really.
no, it's just like a
It's just
like
we're gonna use his name because we can, but he's not
yeah.
gonna do the things that you know him to do.
Yeah, no. I thought it was like that was a fun thing, but a lot of this movie just like moved quick and it was a lot of like who cares. But I did think Hugh Jackman was great in it. I thought Storm was good in it. I just did this movie didn't
I
have
didn't.
like
I
the
Hugh
heart.
Jackman was fine. I didn't like Wolverine, if that makes sense. Like
He
I
was
felt like he wasn't
very
written well.
I agree. He was obsessed with Jean. Obsessed. And the one scene that I want to say that I don't like it, but I think it's filmed well, is Xavier's death. I don't like it. It feels just like a plot point. It doesn't feel necessary. And
Yeah,
it
it
kind of,
seemed that like I'm fine with him dying. That's a
and I'm,
honestly a cool way for him to die.
yeah.
Like,
And then Magneto just being like, okay, come with me.
and it
Like,
also went like that scene. It just goes from 0 to 100.
yes. And it just is like, I know she doesn't have control. I don't, I mean, I don't know. It
But
just,
she does. Like at that point, Jean doesn't, but the Phoenix does. Like she knew exactly what she was doing. But I feel
yeah.
like it would lead to that. Like she hadn't. She'd kill you. You'd let her kill Cyclops off screen. So like we knew she did it, but like it doesn't carry the weight that they wanted it to carry. I don't think that like she's out there murdering people.
No, I
You know,
didn't.
they try to make it carry that weight because they did not let us see it happen.
Yeah, maybe I think so because they like the execs wanted that to be the emotional turning point in the movie. But for me, even as a fan growing up with these movies, seeing these movies for the first time, for me, it never stuck with me. I was like, this is like that's not how I expected them to go halfway through the movie to be killed by Jean. I understand why. I I just it was very much just whatever. And I think the scene's cool itself, how like the house is all up in the air and Wolverine's in the ceiling and everything like that. But it just felt like a waste. It just really felt like a waste. And then Magneto, I understand that, he's got his own war to fight, but Charles was his best, like, quote unquote, like best friend. They've known each other for maybe not best friend, but they've known each other for the longest time. And she just killed another mutant. And that's like his cardinal sin. Like he doesn't give a
Yeah,
shit about humans. He wants to protect mutant kind, and he'll never kill another mutant. He'll, get him out of the way.
yeah. I didn't
Maybe he
really
will
think about
kill a
it like
mutant.
that. But I mean, that's a good. It's like this is a good point.
But it's just like, and then he's just like immediately
And
like,
he
all right,
doesn't
come with
really
me.
react the way. I
No,
mean, he
no, he
does. Like
doesn't.
he doesn't react the way that
He's
I know.
like, he's like, oh shit. That's basically it. Right?
Yeah, but like what I'm getting at Magneto in all these films, right? And just like, I don't know, how am I trying to say this? He doesn't react the way why am I blanking on Ian McKellen? He doesn't react the way Ian McKellen could have allowed him to react. Let me put it
Yeah.
that way. Right?
Yeah.
Like
Like,
that means that creepo Brett Ratner was like, "No, you're overacting here."
yeah,
Like Ian
probably.
McKellen could have sold that death and it could have been exactly what it should have been. But instead he's just like, "Oh, that was scary. Come on, let's leave."
What I expect Ian McKellen to do is be internally destroyed about it or conflicted, but knows that he needs Gene, and that's what he does. Like, I'm with you. I completely agree
If
that
there was a chance to have
maybe if he did act that well, it would have elevated the scene and been
yeah,
like,
you have an
okay,
all-time actor playing Magneto.
yeah, exactly.
Let him cook, as the kids say.
Let him cook. Yeah. But then kind of after that, Wolverine goes and finds Gene by himself. And then, you know, Bobby and Iceman and Pyro get their show. Like there's a couple cool action scenes, I do think. But the thing
If
about these other two was that the storyline always kind of overshadowed the action. Like it was always that was what was important. And X Men One and
Well,
Two,
yeah,
obviously,
the
we're
the
gonna get it.
action got you, or the storyline got you the action. Whereas this
Yeah,
movie, I feel like the action, they wrote a story around what action pieces they wanted to have.
exactly.
Where
Like
should we put the facility? Put it on Alcatraz because I want Magneto to break apart the Golden Gate Bridge.
yeah, like the most unnecessary shit of all time.
Yeah.
A band
Hey,
that
we
can
could
glide.
also in that scene, it goes from middle of the day to night.
Oh, I thought I noticed
I
that too.
rewound it. I was
Yeah,
like, what the fuck just that? Because I was like half paying attention by that point. And I'm
sure.
like, I missed, like, did I nod off? Like, what? How did it get so dark? And I'm like,
I
oh
don't
no, they
know.
just traveled on a floating bridge, and then that got them to midnight. Apparently, like
I
there
guess
is
to walk the Golden Gate Bridge is long. So
there is no dusk in San Francisco.
nope.
It's
It's strictly day and
yeah,
night.
it's
That's it.
afternoon and then it's night, and that's it. There's nothing in between.
um,
Also, while we're on the bridge, in some movies, there's danger outside. I'm gonna lock the car door bit is funny.
yeah.
In this movie, I almost turned it off.
What did they
Like
do?
one, they're like tearing the bridge apart. The X-Men are attacking. Jean has killed Charles Xavier. Like you're past the point of like
Yeah, yeah, like standard
mutants are kind of
civilian.
scary.
Yeah.
And the one woman in the car when Magneto is like wrecking the Golden Gate Bridge, just like leans over and
That's
locks her.
right. Locks the door. Go. Yeah, it's
Like,
stupid.
shut up. Stop it.
Stupid. And then yeah, so then there's the big fight at the end. And they save the kid who can cure mutants. And
That kid looked familiar too.
he did look familiar. I don't know what else
I
he's
didn't look
been
him
in.
up, but he did look familiar.
The cool scene with him was when Beast, like he transforms Beast Hand when he just goes near him. I thought that was neat.
That's a cool scene, yeah.
But yeah, so then they fight at the end. Beast joins them. They're in their X-Men suits with a little bit of color, and then they attack Magneto and turn him into a mutant, and he becomes what he hates. And
Maybe.
maybe, and then they kill Jean. And then that's the end of the movie. Except at the end, there's that little scene where Magneto moves the piece. And in 2014, Kinsberg said of the wobbling chess piece at the end of the film, there's a scene before the credits where Magneto playing chess, and you see that he can just make the chess piece move. So there's a hint that he's starting to regain his powers. The leap from there was the cure from The Last Stand didn't work exactly the way they thought it would. And so we just leaped forward however many years and he got his powers back. So essentially, it was like not meant to be like open ended, but also just like yeah, Magneto still has his powers. And then having admitted being unhappy with some elements of how the film turned out, Kinsberg, who wrote this and wrote a couple of the other X-Men movies, then went on to direct and write the reboot film Dark Phoenix. So he wasn't happy with his move with how the Phoenix was, and so he did a worse version of it in X-Men Dark Phoenix. But that's kind of X-Men The Last Stand. Anything that maybe sticks out, Bob, that we didn't cover or that you really liked or that you just hated?
There was very little that I really liked. What did I like?
The
You know
one
what
thing,
I thought was kind of cool, but I kind of didn't like at the same time. Like I'm so torn and conflicted on some of the stuff they did with this movie because I thought it could be really cool. When like Magneto's in that like underground mutant like rally,
oh yeah.
I'm like, this has the potential to be like a really cool scene. And
Yeah.
then it's kind of like pufferfish man, and I'm like, oh, never mind.
Never mind.
That guy's a porcupine. Okay, cool. That's
Yeah, it's like they left, and then like you would think that this would be a perfect opportunity to show like Gambit, or because we get the X-Men team at the end that like is a famous X-Men team minus Cyclops, like Iceman, Kitty Pryde,
Colossus,
Colossus, Storm. Yeah, like you get the
Beast,
team at
and
the end.
Wolverine. That's your six.
And
Yeah.
Wolverine. Yeah, like that's the team. It's just a shame that this was kind of the ending, and this
And
is
like
what
that scene on the island with those six, that's like a perfect Kitty Pryde, right? I'm gonna go and do
and save the kid. Yep.
I'm gonna go save those. Yeah, save the thing that matters most. You guys do the fighting. Like Kitty Pryde's not She is, but she's like the I'm gonna figure this stuff out while you guys do all the not heavy lifting because she can hold her own too. But like
Yeah.
that fight scene is cool.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
that's the problem with this movie is like exactly what we said. Every cool action sequence, the logic or like the things that led up to it don't matter. They don't carry weight. Like enough, none of it feels.
I I agree. Like it's basically all I don't even want to say style because I don't think it's necessarily like the best directed action. Like it's good action, but it's like style really over substance. And that I felt is felt immediately. Like it's you know, there's just a different palette to the movie than the first two. And you get that with a different director. But it's just like bang bang what people think comic book movies are versus where the first two are like thoughtful commentary on life with an X-Men story woven in, cool action. And I think Brett Ratner probably did a better job with the action than Bryan Singer, but I would have preferred to see Singer do this one. And that's why he eventually comes back for Days of Future Past, is because
It
he liked it.
reminded me earlier, like I said it earlier, it reminded me of the Star Wars sequel trilogy,
Mm-hmm.
where like this almost felt like I know that they set this up in X
It's
two,
a it's a
but this
Return of the
almost
Jedi.
it felt no like the sequels. It felt like the
Sorry,
last.
I didn't mean Return of the Jedi. I
Yeah,
meant because I love Return of the Jedi. I meant Rise of Skywalker. That's what it feels
yeah,
like.
it just felt counterintuitive. It felt like it was going against some of the stuff that they'd established earlier on.
Just because there's trilogies are common doesn't mean it needs to happen. Every movie doesn't
Well,
need a trilogy.
while we're on the topic, there's some people on Letterboxd that disagree. So I like to
Oh,
look at who gave this a 5-star review.
oh
There's a
God.
lot. There are a lot. I'll give you some of the highlights. 5-star review. Okay, I can't explain it, but this one has to be up there with my faves. It's just so weirdly perfect. It's entertaining throughout and simultaneously silly, funny, and absolutely devastating. I totally didn't almost cry. And yeah, I miss my BBG. I don't know. Storm's hair was so freaking cute. I love her. And that's where I stopped on that one. I gave up.
Can you click on that profile? And what are their four favorites?
Oh, okay. Donnie Darko, Back to the Future, The Joker, and Sweeney Todd. So not like,
Fuck, fuck. Those are
yeah,
good
it's not
movies.
like it's a wild, like outlandish thing.
Damn, people are weird, man.
Yeah, so let's find another. There's another good one.
I mean, I like bad movies, and I stuck by bad movies. But I've come to realize a bad movie is a bad movie, aka
And
Green
here's my
Lantern.
thing with like Letterbox, and you and I view it a little bit differently. You have to be perfect to get a 5 from me. Like
Yeah,
really good movies get a 4.5 from me.
I am
So
hesitant on the five. The five is
yeah,
a. We've talked about it.
I think I've given 3.
You are a little bit. I've also been doing it for a little bit longer,
Yeah,
so I have
but it was like
more.
Lord of the Rings,
Lord of the
A Bunch
Rings.
of Fraud Men, which I just absolutely loved, which was just like a fluke one, but like I gave that a 5. But
Yeah,
that was just a movie that I just genuinely enjoyed from start to finish.
I think you're a tougher critic than I am.
That's what I mean. So like I know I'm a tougher critic a little bit,
But the
but
five
like what do
stars
you
for
got?
this.
What's your criteria to be giving this a 5?
Yeah, like did
Like
it? Is it
it
a
had
movie?
credits? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
wow. Yikes. Hit me with another one.
God, what I would give to watch this for the first time. Such a phenomenal film.
And what are that person's four favorites?
Dude, this one's fun. Saltburn, X, which I don't even know what that is.
Oh, that's a horror movie.
The Hunger Games Catching Fire. I saved the best for last. It's actually their first.
Oh no.
Jurassic Park 3.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
All
Oh
right.
God. I'm all right with the other ones. Like,
Now,
sure. Your favorite movie is Jurassic Park 3. I saw somebody comment about Dune 2, and they're like, yeah, this is what Jurassic Park 3 did for me. And I was like, oh God. Like
this
that.
one's good. I didn't look at her top 4 yet, but this
Okay.
this is the only review that's a 5-star review that I agree with and I'm all right with. Why study for midterms when you can binge all the X-Men? Yes, every single one will be rated 5 stars by me. I'm like, all right, yeah, that's just the bit you're doing. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I like that.
Top 4, Mamma Mia, Pitch Perfect, Scream, 10 Things I Hate About You.
I can't be mad about that as a
Yeah,
thing.
I'm fine with it.
Because like people do change, like my four favorites have been my four favorite. Like I shifted one movie in and out, but people change them all the time. But like that is like those movies that you just named for four favorites are like I got nothing to do on a Saturday and it's on. I'm just gonna throw this movie
Yeah,
on.
that person just wants to watch a movie.
That movie just wants to
Doesn't
watch a
matter. They
movie, chill
not
and cuddle.
popcorn.
Yeah, exactly. And so this would be
Popcorn.
a good movie for them. Popcorn, movies, popcorn.
Popcorn. Movies popcorn.
Speaking of Letterbox, what did you give this movie on Letterbox?
I gave this movie a 2.5, which is exactly what I gave Transformers the last night.
I saw that. I gave this movie a 2 stars out of 5. I think 2 stars, 2.5.
I think I'm just really watching shitty movies right now. So and also so I watched Age of Extinction.
Transformers.
I'm watching the Transformers movies at the same time I'm doing these.
Which one's Age of
The one
Extinction?
with the dinosaurs.
Oh, the Mark
It's the
Wahlberg
most
one, right?
convoluted. That might be the worst movie I've seen in recent memory.
Oh no, that's not the Mark Wahlberg one.
It's the
Oh, it is the
first
Mark
Mark
Wahlberg.
Wahlberg one. It's the first Mark Wahlberg one. And so I gave that a 2. And so I kind of like grade based off that. Like this wasn't as bad as that. So
So
like it can't
that
be 2.
that has an 18% on Rotten Tomatoes. So two
It's
stars
bad.
seems fair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's bad. But it was also like there were scenes where I was like, that was kind of cool. So I
But
couldn't give it, I didn't want to
two,
give it like a 1.
yeah. I
One
don't
and a
think
half. I feel like once you get under a 2, you stink. Doesn't
what
matter.
which one's Revenge of the Fallen? That 3?
That's the third one. That one was there were some cool action sequences. It wasn't awful.
I remember it being a little boring, but
They're just thinking so long.
I liked that one though. I remember liking
Three
that
and a
one.
half star. Well, I mean, one is good. One is genuinely good. Oh
One
no,
is genuinely good. Bumblebee is genuinely good too.
Revenge of the Fallen is 2.
Oh, I'd like to.
Yeah, no, it's good. And then Dark of the Moon or Dark Side of the Moon or whatever.
That's 3. 2 has 20% on Rotten. These movies are not liked by
I
critics.
should have that on my letterbox too, and I don't think I do.
But yeah, I gave it a 2 star. This is a 2 star movie, a 2.5. Nothing against it. I look at it. I don't look at it with disgust like I do with some, 2 star movies. It's kind of like I don't know. It's kind of like because I gave Jurassic World to like 2 stars, 2.5, and I look at it with that, or it's like I'm not going to rewatch it, but I don't hate it. It's not the worst thing I've
Yeah,
ever seen.
it's not awful.
There's
It's
still some great quality, not great. There's still some really good stuff in this movie. There's good character moments, and ultimately that's why we like these X-Men movies. So, Bob, you've been watching along. Rank this trilogy.
like give the whole trilogy like out of 5 or like
No, just like your order. Like,
oh, it's 1, 2, 3 for me.
yeah, same. It's 1, 2, 3 for
Yeah,
me as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
I liked 2 a lot. I think I said it on the podcast. I liked 2, but something about 1 I just liked better.
Yeah,
Like I just can't explain it.
one has this classic quality to it where it may not be the best or like an all-timer, but it's a classic.
I think
It's
1 is the better X-Men movie.
agreed.
2 is
Agreed.
the better superhero movie.
I can agree with that.
And then 3 is hot
Is it's
by
garbage.
comparison.
It's
Yeah,
garbage.
and look, I keep saying by comparison. If you were like, hey, would you rather watch? I don't know. I'm sure there's bad other. Would you rather watch Morbius or X3? Like the
Probably,
Last Stand. I'm probably watching X-Men: The Last Stand.
yeah, absolutely.
So I did. I
Because
went
there's
on Disney Plus, saw that Morbius was there, and said, I'm going to watch X-Men: The Last Stand.
I saw this movie twice opening day. Finished it, got home. My friend was going and asked if I wanted to go, and I said sure. So like, there's there's
It's
good
an action
qualities.
movie. It's
Yeah,
like it's Transformers is another good example where it is just like a summer blockbuster. Things are going to explode. You're going to see some cool action things. But if you're watching, like, and at the time, I feel like that was fun.
yeah. I still think it is. I still think movies like this, again, not to conclude your trilogy, but movies of this style are still important to the movies. Obviously, actually, I'm wrong. I am wrong because I want to say like a movie like Argyle, where it's not great, but it's somewhat. I've heard it's still somewhat entertaining. Is good for the movies where people can go watch nonsense, but I don't really think that's the good. It's a good
But is
example
Argyle
of it.
making money?
No, it's a bomb, huge
That's
bomb.
what I mean. Like, it's bombing. So it's not good for the movies
Maybe
anymore.
like Free
Oh, this
Guy.
reminds me of Argyle, where
Yeah.
like
Okay.
Argyle was just longer, but like it's entertaining. And the longer it goes, the more you're like, this is dumb.
But actually, maybe I don't know because I tried watching Aquaman 2 and I couldn't do it. So, and I think that's probably worse than this. Example, a movie.
Aquaman 2 is just such a show. I mean, same thing with this. It's just such a shit show behind the scenes too. Like that
Yeah,
movie never had a chance.
yeah. I mean, anything from DC, really.
But I'm saying with
Um,
all the Amber Heard shit and everything else, it was just like
and then just like the planned
you feel
spin-off.
bad for Jason.
Feel bad for Jason, but I feel bad for James Wan, all that. But yeah, no, I think there's a place for these crappy TNT movies. You know what, Bob? A good example of this is D&D. I loved D&D. D&D was one of my favorite
What I
movies
was
from
awake
last
for,
year.
I really enjoyed too.
That was in my top 10 for the year. I love that.
That's it. That was a it's but
And
D&D
that's
had a good story.
but it had
And
some of these blends of D&D had a better story, a competent director,
what was
good
the budget
actors.
for that? Like comparatively now.
So what
Like
D&D was?
D&D's budget versus what would be like a bigger what was D&D versus Mission Impossible, I guess.
Oh, Mission Impossible was huge.
That was
Um,
like a gigantic budget. All right,
yeah.
what would be like another like what would be a
So
bigger action movie from this year? That's kind of what I was looking at.
so Dungeons and Dragons was 150.
Okay.
So comparable, a
I don't want the
comparable.
same. I want another action movie because I'm assuming Dungeons and Dragons is probably on a cheaper end as far as action movies go now. Trying to think of
Uh,
what else we saw last year.
what about the Beekeeper that just came out? Oh, John Wick. John Wick's one. Probably
That
that's
that works. What do you think that? Well, I also think that that's probably a cheaper movie to make too, to be honest.
Beekeeper just came out, and that's probably got a smaller budget. But yeah, something like that where there's smaller budget movie. That's what I mean. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying trying to say like these. This is the big. You know what?
That's what I'm. That's
This
what I
is
mean,
kind
right?
of
So like,
this is an Argyle, the biggest movie of all time, like budget wise, and then kind of being a turd.
it's just like an intro. All right, so just to put it in perspective, you said Dungeons and Dragons was 150
Mhm.
and Guardians 3 was 250,
Yeah, exactly.
right? So like that is clearly supposed to make money.
Yeah,
Whereas like Dungeons and Dragons is like, we'll make something off of this. We'll do all
yeah,
right. This is like
potentially
it's a what was it? March, April?
March. Yeah,
This
and
is a
then
March release.
March was packed. And I still that movie held up as one of my favorites of the year. Loved it. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. It's on Paramount Plus. But I think that about does it for us here, Bob. We'll be back. Whether Bob's here for the next one or not. It could be Daredevil. It could be Wolverine Origins. I'm not sure. So that's that. But
We gotta figure that out.
I have to figure what I want to commit to. Is basically all it is. Maybe the Fantastic Four movies will throw. I don't know. I haven't figured it out. But anything to plug before we go? How about before we go? The Oscars is this Sunday to timestamp this because I don't know when this is coming out. What do you think will win Best Picture? That's what we'll end it with.
Think
I think it's a lock.
I think
truly
it's
do.
Oppenheimer.
I think it's Oppenheimer as well.
But I want to see if there's anything else that could like
I think it's Oppenheimer. If it was up to me personally, as somebody casting a ballot, it would be The Holdovers.
I don't think The Holdovers is best picture. For the
Uh,
sole reason that like there's
it's
so
not.
much other production stuff that went into Oppenheimer that makes it the better film.
Yeah.
Uh, as far as like the grand scheme of what they did, I think
Yeah.
Oppenheimer wins there. Yeah, I think Oppenheimer. I don't think there's any question. Zone of Interest is apparently incredible.
Yeah. That's the one. It's the only one I haven't seen. And I
You
don't want
watched? You
to.
saw American Fiction?
Yep.
Is it good?
I really
It
liked
looks
it.
really good. Yeah,
It
I
was,
wanted to see that one. I didn't get a chance to.
I didn't know anything about it going in, and it was really funny.
Oh yeah, I looked it up and I was like, wow, I kind of want to see this. And they were playing at the Highway, but I didn't get a chance to go while they were playing it.
Yeah, I saw that and that Anatomy of a Fall and Poor Things were the ones that I watched without knowing anything about them because I just was like, oh, this does
Poor
look. I
Thing's
do want to
kind
see
of
this.
weird, right?
Yeah, it just came to Hulu actually. Very,
Poor
very,
Things did.
yeah, very fucking weird. But the themes in Barbie, like that are expressed in Barbie,
Same
are
kind of
are
idea.
done so much better in this and fun. And Mark Ruffalo is fantastic.
I heard, yeah.
It's
Barbie is like one of
funny.
those where like I'm really glad they made the movie. I thought the movie was great. I think Barbie is one of those like we're giving this the best picture nod because it makes the Academy look good.
Yeah, it was actually interesting. We had a long conversation at work about this today. Or I liked it, but it made my top 10 for the year. I
It's
don't
just
know.
not the kind of movie that they usually nominate.
No, it's the most. It's the one I probably laughed the most at this year. It's not the
Yeah.
best time I had at the movies. That belongs, I think, to Dungeons and Dragons, but Guardians is my
Guardians
favorite.
3. So like
Guardians is my favorite.
Barbie was a go to the movies movie.
Yeah,
Go see a movie. This is gonna be great. You're gonna see it. You're gonna laugh. You're gonna have a good time. You're gonna cry. You're gonna eat your popcorn. Movies and popcorn.
movies
You're
and
gonna see
popcorn.
Nicole Kidman, and then like let's get people back in the theaters. And that's what they wanted, and it worked.
Yeah, no, I mean
And
it was
but like for the
the
Academy
biggest
to
event of the
nominate
year.
it, I feel like it's just like a hey, if we don't nominate Barbie, we don't look good nomination.
Yeah, I mean, I think they don't look good for Greta getting snubbed. I'll be honest, but I don't think it's a Best Picture movie like material. I don't think it should win. Sure, it should be nominated. It was in my top 10. Why not be in the top 10 of the year? But the other movies in that are definitely better.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm an Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer's my pick though, for sure.
Oppenheimer, I would go with
Let's see. Who are your which
second
ones?
shoe in second place. Killers probably. Killers of the Flower Moon.
I honestly didn't think Killers was that great.
I love
I
the
thought it was
ending.
good. I thought it was well acted. I just thought like if you read the book, I thought it was just the book. You know, like it
Yeah.
wasn't like this crazy concept. It was
Marty
Scorsese.
loves Marty loves the human experience,
Yeah, but
the
Scorsese took
human
a book
condition.
that was about a super fucked up scenario and said, I can make this a movie, and he did, and it's a good movie, but it's just like not I wasn't impressed.
But yeah, that's our Oscar
Yeah,
discussion.
we're gonna date ourselves because
We're
this
there
is gonna
ourselves,
come out
but it's going to come out
6 months
2020.
after the Oscars.
Definitely dating ourselves. But thank you all for listening, Bob. Thank you so much for joining me again. It's been fun doing this, and me and you episode. We haven't done one of these in like a year and a half, I
It's been
think.
a
It's
while, yeah.
been quite some time. It's been fun since
Hey,
our Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantum Mania episode. So
okay, yeah. I mean,
about a year.
sometimes you got to drop the dead weight. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Trim the fat, as they say in the business.
Yeah. No. I get what you're saying.
Just kidding, Shane. You're not listening at this
He's not
point. Yeah.
fucking listening.
Hey, Nick, don't tell Shane I said that. That's
Yeah,
more. Yeah.
there you go. Yeah, little fucking rat. All right, but remember to rate, like, and subscribe. Check us out. Follow us on Letterboxd. We love you all. Thank you for staying subscribed, and we'll see you on the next Fox Universe rewatch. Say goodbye.
Bye.